Hey now, hey now, hey now. Hey, hey, hey. How we doing, fam? It is a Monday, an all-day Monday. And hey, this is a young lady that I was tweeting about, telling you guys about that I was going to have on the show on today. This is Bryan Harper Sr.'s daughter. And we're going to be talking about his case and filling you all in on him. If you have never heard about this case, tonight is going to be the night that you will hear about it. We want to get as much information out as we possibly can. Yep. One of the things that I don't do is I don't pre-interview a lot of times my people that I talk to on my show. I like to let them tell you about themselves, and then we get into it. So I'm going to open the door for you and just let the audience know who you are and what we're going to be talking about.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, my name is Brianna Hooper, and I am the first daughter of Bryan Hooper Sr., who has been wrongfully incarcerated. So, I just want to make a clarification that it's Bryan Hooper Sr., and I really am here to share his story and talk about an injustice due to Hennepin County. So, in 1998, my father became a slave to the state of Minnesota. He was wrongfully convicted of a murder that happened in South Minneapolis of an elderly woman. And while there was no DNA or physical evidence linking to the crime, of course, Minneapolis PD found a way to convict him. So, just here to give a testimony of how easily Black and brown bodies are targeted and can be wrongfully convicted in Minnesota systems. And I know that's not exclusive to us, but this is where we're at. So, yeah.
But
Um,
but like you said, it's not exclusive to us, but it seems like it happens to us a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we've had several recent cases of people who have been wrongfully convicted coming out even in the recent years. And it just seems like it's just has happened so often in the state of Minnesota, which is why I think it's important that we talk about what's happening here. So my father, Bryan Hooper Sr., has always maintained his innocence. He was locked up in like November, late time of 1998. He has filed many petitions and appeals to get out of prison, told time after time, that the evidence isn't sufficient enough, or you don't have enough time, or this wasn't presented in a certain matter of time. So all of these systemic legalities like blocking him from his voice being heard and his story being told. And even when there was evidence, like nobody listened because it was time barred. So, yeah, we're just here to talk about how he's been fighting from day one, pleading his innocence, and how he's continuously fighting 27 years later.
Right. So let's go. You mentioned the date, and like I
Mhm.
said, I did look up, some of the things that I saw online about your dad, and somewhat how he got into this. But you know more than I do. So let's go back to 1998. I mean, 1998. Let's go back to that date. How old was you?
Oh my God. So I was 6 years young in 1998.
Okay. Okay. So
Hmm.
but I'm sure leading up to today, you have been all through this case like no other. Like you know what you're talking about when it comes to this. So here it is, 1998. There's a woman in an apartment building, right over south, that is murdered, right? So
Yes.
correct me if I get any of this wrong.
Sure.
Come to find out, she had been in this room in her apartment for a couple of days, to the point that a few days, to the point that the body was decomposing, correct?
Yes, yes. It was stated that the assumption that she was there a couple of actually weeks to a month and between the time that they found her body.
Okay. So when they found her body, they found that she was tied up, gagged, and all of this here type of stuff. So that's pretty much that's out there saying how they found this lady body. Now, the one of the things that I did ask you, because I had, like I said, I looked into it and I noticed there was never really any evidence pointing to your dad.
Correct. I mean, and that's why we're here fighting. There was no evidence that had his name on it, and the fact that he was easily convicted just because people said so, right? And these people that are saying so are people who have who have been coerced into making these false statements. So they had every like incentive to lie, be that it's shorter sentence on, whatever they had going on, or be that like a promise of money. So even though that there was no physical evidence, the court simply relied on false testimony, and that's the truth. Um, and and this is why I find it important. Excuse me, but I just wanted to reiterate that there was no physical evidence, and that just goes to show how easily it could be you, it could be me, any of our loved ones who are blamed or scapegoated into crimes, and why it's important for us to be aware and pay attention to what's going on within our systems. So they don't need anything to convict you. They don't need any physical evidence, is what they have proven time and time again.
Right. And that's something that I can definitely say because I spent 19 years as a prison monitor. When men were getting out of prison, the year before they got out of prison, then they would be assigned to me and I would work with them and things of that sort. And listening to a lot of those men that I worked with, and they were saying, dude, they go into the jails and get somebody snitch who's, a jailhouse snitch who they turn around and say, if you tell us that this person did blah, 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 we will cut time off your sentence.
Mhm,
Right? So
mhm.
these are the people that they're using. Or somebody is in jail and they're somebody's friend and they go, well, if you point your finger to him, you'll get off lightly. That's what a lot of people don't understand about the system. How you can be walking down the street, you fit the description, and they can build a case off you walking down the street
Yeah,
when they're looking for
absolutely.
someone, when they need someone. Now, also, I want to say this here. The lady we talking about was a white woman. So
Thank you for bringing that up.
right? Let's make sure we're very clear because we know the history. There is a serious history. Because I just put out a guy just the other day of a black man who was carrying some wood into a hotel. He ripped a white woman's dress. The white woman said that he attacked her. They hung this man. So there's a history when it comes to black men and white women. So now any black man is now on their radar. And it sounds almost like your dad was that.
Absolutely. I mean, he definitely was a scapegoat, and I absolutely agree that race had a huge, role to play in this. It's easier to crucify a black man, especially in a murder of a white woman. I also want to say that gender also played a role in this, because one of the things that they said is like, oh, there's no way that the person who was the state's key witness could commit this crime, but her fingerprints were all over the evidence. So how was there no way that she could commit this crime? So it just goes to show other biases around gender along with race.
Right. So he goes. So they pick him out. Did they pick him out of a lineup? Did they just go pick him up? I mean, how did they get your dad?
Yeah, so the key witness basically said, "Hey, this guy, I know this guy from the streets. His name is Jerome. He's the one who committed this crime. I saw him in the apartment." So she pointed them in the direction.
She,
Yes,
one a black person,
yes,
said
a
that
black woman.
a woman said, I saw him in the apartment.
Correct.
And that was the initial that was them initially arresting your dad off of her saying, I saw him in
Well,
the apartment
well,
or the apartment building.
yeah, to be clear, there was, I think it was originally 8 people who were arrested for going in and out of the apartment. And all of those people, including my father, were like originally arrested like on burglary charges because they were seen, right? It was said that they were seen going in and out of that apartment.
Okay. All right. All right. So the actual not the apartment building, but the actual apartment that she lived in. People were going in and out of there. Okay. At the same
Correct.
time, we got a dead woman in this place. You got
Hmm.
people going in and out of there, and they're
Hmm.
trying to get everybody on, like you said, burglary charges. So now they got all these people who have been in and out of there. So now they've got to finger one of these people for murder
Exactly.
when they could not find, apparently they couldn't find anybody out of that lot of people that they arrested. Then they started saying your dad did it.
Yes, and I want to be clear that the state's key witness was the one who originally was saying, "Hey, Brom did it. He committed this crime." So I think, with her making that statement, or also being one of the people who are saying, "Yeah, he was in and out of the apartment," that kind of gave them a way to kind of shift in his direction.
Wow, that is that's crazy, but that's pretty much how the system works, right? They will get something, and then they could take something small and then broaden it out to make a jury. And so now so now he goes to trial. So they get him, they bring him in. He says, I didn't do this. I'm an innocent man, right? They say, no, you did it. We're going to prosecute you. We're going to send you to trial. So he goes to trial. He gets a jury, what they say, he gets a jury of his peers. Exactly. So, um, even though you was small, but again, like I said, um, do you know the makeup of this jury that was they got?
Um, well, my father and I talked about the makeup of the jury, and we can assure you that it wasn't a list of his peers, which is something that we talk about often. I mean, when we're talking about peers, we also want to consider cultural context. And I think it's funny because one of the things my dad brought up is like culturally, if those were my peers, they would understand that if I was committing this crime, I wouldn't need to call for a lookout. I wouldn't need to say, "Hey, person who had nothing to do with anything, come over here and be a witness to this crime." And I think that's something important when we're talking about juries of peers, right? We forget about that cultural context. It's not only about race and gender, but what about people who know where I came from, who understand, the nuances of the environment of which we come from. And so, yeah, I just find that interesting as well when we're talking about jury of peers. We're talking about, age, we're talking about generational competence, gender understanding, all of those things, race. And so, yeah, it's yeah.
So, well, you know what I didn't ask you before we got started. Are you you his only child, or does he have you got brothers and sisters?
Yes, I do have brothers and sisters. So my father has three children. Um, yeah.
Okay, all right, and I'm sure they're on this here road, this journey with you, fighting to prove that their father, after almost 30, what he's been in almost 30 years, correct? 30
Correct.
years behind bars for a crime he did not commit. So he goes to trial. Now, is this Hennepin County? What county is this?
Yeah, so this did take place in Hennepin County.
Okay, so that's Mike Freeman.
Hmm.
Okay, so he came in before. Now he was there before Amy Klobuchar. So you guys was this close because Amy Klobuchar put a lot of black men behind bars who were innocent also, and that's
Yeah,
what
yeah, absolutely.
right, and that's what a lot of these Hennepin County DAs and AGs and all have built their career on. Literally have built. Amy Klobuchar built her career on putting black men in jail. Period. Point
Yeah.
blank. If it was not for black men, for her, and here's another thing about how Amy Klobuchar built her. Not that she had anything to do with your case, but I'm going somewhere with this here. Hang with me. Um, Here's the problem with that situation, with having these Democrats take and put black men in prison like an Amy Klobuchar. Our community will sit back and let them do this.
Hmm.
So I say that to ask you this question. Who all in the community stood up for your dad?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a tough one. And to speak to that, I think, I want to talk about how the media plays a good role in this and how we as a community don't take a second to step back and really think about some of these things and then push back and fight against them. Because they utilize the media to crucify him, to convict him and say, oh, this crack addict or this, angry black man or this, they put these labels on our men and on our communities and they stick. And they allow those labels and those words to decide who that person really is, right? So why look further when he was a crackhead or drug dealer? Why look further if he was doing all these criminal things, right? And so, yes, the community I think a has a way of just falling for it
Mhm.
and not really thinking through some of these things and standing up for themselves ultimately, because that's what's really going on.
Oh yeah. And you brought up a good thing. The media has always depicted us as unhuman, right? So therefore, when they say this black man did this here, one of the worst things that ever came out of someone's mouth is when Hillary Clinton called the black man a super predator. What that did to people like me, being out in the
Mhm.
streets, gave the media the okay that no matter what I did right, I'm still
Mhm.
wrong. Just like your
Mhm.
father.
Mhm.
That man could have been, I mean, he could have a alibi that was just perfect. But because the media has built us up to be the worst thing that ever set foot on it, you know what? There's some people that will go hang with Satan before they go hang with a black man because of what the media has done to us, what they have put on us, how they have labeled us, and the detriment to who we are. That's why it's easy for someone to walk into a courtroom and say, Mr. Harper, I saw him locking the door with a key, and he don't even have a key to the door. And they'll believe it.
Right. Right. And what's crazy is that the state's key witness had a key to the door. So many people had made statements, and the court had it available saying, hey, this woman let me in and out of the apartment. And my father also said, hey, this person brought me to the apartment. I didn't know anything about this apartment. So it's just interesting how all the things line up, yet they're just saying, hey, let's pin it on this guy.
Right. So he goes again. So he goes to court. In court, they have well, we'll call it for our sake today. We'll call them witnesses. So he had people on the stand testifying against your father, saying, "Yeah, we saw him," as if he was the only one in that apartment, going in and out of that apartment.
Actually, I want to be clear about something. They didn't go on the stand and say, hey, yeah, we saw him. They went on the stand saying, oh, yeah, he confessed to me. They went on the stand saying, hey, he told me this story. I heard that he did this crime. They didn't say I saw him do anything.
Oh, so it was one of those, I tell you something, and then you tell the person next to you, then that person tells, and by the time it gets to the end, that whole story is completely debunked and it's all out everywhere. It's one of those situations.
Actually, I want to be clearer. It wasn't one of those situations. It was, hey, say this in the court and you will get less time. Say this in the court and I will pay you. So it's not a he said, she said, we said. It's a you need to say this in order for you to gain from the situation.
So have so okay. So they come in, pretty much give their story that they were told. Basically, like I said before, I'm gonna give you time off, or I'm gonna give you $100, and I need you to come in and I need you to say what you saw, but you can add this and this and this and this. Or
Say what you heard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. We'll write a statement. No, not we'll write a statement. We'll help you write your statement, and we'll just we'll fill in the blank. Because that's usually what happens when they go out on the streets and get somebody. That's what we'll help you with your statement, and we will fill in the blank. And then once you get up on the stands, or if we use your statement, because, we can't find you once we give you that $100. So we got to get it on paper, right?
Right, exactly.
And then they take off. So now we're at a point where they're telling their story. Your dad is sitting there with his lawyer. Now, here's my next question. Did he have a lawyer, or did he have a court-appointed lawyer?
I mean, I think he had I can't answer that. I know the name of his lawyer, but I don't really know what kind of lawyer he was.
Okay, all righty.
I'm gonna imagine this was a court appointed lawyer.
Right. Well, if he didn't have them, more than likely he had a. Okay, so,
Exactly.
and I'm not putting down a court-appointed lawyer. I'm not at all. Okay, but what I know of them, working with a lot of, like I said, I've been in and out of Stillwater. I've been in and out of Rush City. So I've been dealing with guys who confess that they are innocent. And the things that I read and the things that I hear about when it comes to these court-appointed lawyers, anyway, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But reading some of the stuff that I read today, and I'm sitting there going, well, why wasn't that debunked? Why wasn't all of these people that told their story, why wasn't that debunked? Why wasn't it put, well, no, you paid them to say this. Why wasn't it put, well, you giving them time off to say that? If I'm doing 7 years and you say I'll knock off 3 of those 7 for you to just say that dude was to get him in prison, come on.
Yeah. It's wild. And you know what was debunked, which I also find interesting but not surprised, is that one of the guys, one of the testimonies was he received a call from his ex-girlfriend saying, "Hey, me and this lady committed this crime. Can you come pick us up?" But instead of listening to that, right, because that's a confession, right? What they did was discredit that witness. So we couldn't use him as a witness. His story wasn't credible, but these, jailhouse informants, their stories were credible.
Yeah. That,
Um, as well as another witness who said, "Oh, actually, she told me she did the crime," and oh, well, he's debunked too. So it's interesting that they find it reasonable and acceptable to take certain testimonies or witnesses over others.
uh, yeah. It's for me and you, because you have been through the system with your dad. You understand a little bit how the system works. I've been through the system working with other guys in prison. We know that it's easy for people to lie. It is, especially if you're getting something.
Right.
A lot of people out in the real world who are not privy to what we know will sit there and go, well, that jailhouse informant, he had to hear something.
Right.
They don't have to hear
He said it, so
nothing,
it must.
right?
Right.
If that jailhouse person sat next to your dad in the cafeteria for 5 minutes, they can get that guy and go, well, he was next to him. He had to hear him say something, and your dad had never spoke to that man. But because he was in the cafeteria with him for 5 minutes, he had to hear something.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that.
I mean, a lot of people.
No, go ahead.
A lot of people have the mentality like, "Oh, well, he said it, so it must be true," despite the fact that there's no other evidence, but somebody said it. And that's, again, that's the point I'm going to continue to reiterate. Somebody can say something and then it can be you. So is that when we're going to take action? Is that when we're going to care when it's us? Or do we recognize that this is literally a human rights issue that we need to stand against? The system is literally saying we can snatch you, your mama, your grandma, your kids, and you can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, and I've got 2 boys. Dark skin. And I have to remind them. I mean, literally, I do. I call my boys once a week and we have conversations, right? And those conversations are put in a way of, you got to stay safe. Because at any point in time, somebody can say, well, I saw you coming out of the store after I heard some blasting going, because he fits the description. That's the scary part.
And to be clear, the description is black. That's the description that people are
True.
fitting. It don't matter if you tall, big, small. It's black. That's the description. And it's unfortunate that that's how we have to prep and coach our kids, because we're at fear that anything can lead them and put them in the wrong situation. This
Right.
reminds me of that story of those 5 young men, I think it was East Coast, who, I don't remember the full story, but these 5 young men were convicted of I think it was a murder rape, and they served some time. So
Central Park 5.
yes,
So
yes,
so
and
what happened was, with that situation, that's a situation that I say, until Donald Trump apologizes, I could never vote for the man. nor can I can never take the man serious. But these 5 young men were out. What they do, they call it wilding, right? And I'm guilty of this too. You just go out throughout the city, robbing, stealing, doing whatever you want, and that's what they was doing. Well, so happened at the same time they were out doing what they call wilding, a lady was jogging through Central Park. This bonehead decided to jump this lady and rape her. It was only one guy. I don't know if you ever saw the story. You ever seen that story, Central Park 5? If you've never watched it, you should watch it. So the prosecutors, the lady couldn't remember. She thought there was more than one person who beat her up and raped her. So they was like, oh, this had to be during the wilding time when all these kids was out doing this here. They coerce these kids. They brutalize these kids' minds mentally, physically, and spiritually to the point that they had these kids confessing to a crime they never done.
Yeah.
They put them in prison. They went through hell. Donald Trump took out an ad wanting these kids put to death. Donald Trump, that one. The one who would not give rent to black people. That one. So, come to find out, how they found out that the kids didn't do it is the guy finally fessed up and said, I was there that night. They got his DNA off some material that they had kept throughout the years, his DNA on it. They never got DNA from the kids that was on this lady at all. They was exonerated. They was paid millions of dollars for the lies and everything. And it was the media. It was the media. If you go back and you look at some of the things that the media said about these black kids, it was crazy. But because they were black and brown kids, they went nuts. It's just like when in New England, when the white man killed his wife and said black people, that was black men who did it, they went through every projects in New England arresting black men, bringing them in, putting them in jail. When this white man is the one who killed his wife. I say that to say this here. It doesn't take much for America to condemn us because of the color of our skin. It don't take much. So when your dad is sitting in sitting in court and his peers, as they say, is saying guilty because of things that they heard, it had nothing to do with the crime. It's because he was a black man and they got one.
Yeah, and I would like to highlight that was his exact words. He said, "Hey, I'm a sacrificial lamb," and he still remains true to that. Like they used him, um, as a scapegoat. And I just wanted to, because you reminded me, when you talk about DNA, my dad has put in a petition to search the evidence for DNA, and um, when DNA could have been available or could like exonerate him and prove his innocence, like they refused to utilize that, saying, "Oh, well, the evidence is too old." But when it wasn't old, nobody decided that we should use DNA, right? So I think that that's interesting too, because it's like y'all not even taking the necessary steps or going through all of the measures to make sure that you're convicting the right person. You didn't care enough to try to do that.
The evidence is old. I've never heard that one. That's a new one. Because they went years back. And I mean, I watch these investigating shows all the time. I love those shows. They go years back and find,
Exactly.
a little piece about that big, and they use that for DNA and go, well, got him. Let's go get him. You know, rape kits and all this here type of stuff. You know, so
But for whatever reason, but for whatever reason, it wasn't going to prove that he was not guilty of this crime. That's what they were leaning on. So, yeah, I just think that that's, very strategic. Um, and they knew, like, hey, we don't have to utilize this tool. So what's the point when we can just easily pin it on this black man
right.
who's also not from Minnesota, who also didn't have a significant amount of family in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's funny how they do that. That's the same thing with Philip Vance. I've noticed also that. Now, where's your dad from?
He's from Chicago.
Okay, so he moved over here. How long was he in Minnesota before he went to prison?
So he kind of like, since he was young, he would migrate back and forth between Minnesota. But I would say he was up here, a handful of years before, like officially up here for a handful of years before this happened.
Okay, now is your mom? Is she here?
She is in Minnesota, but she's from Florida.
She's from Florida. Okay, all right, no
Mhm.
problem. And your other siblings, are they here?
Yes, we're all here in Minnesota.
Okay, that's awesome. So from the day that they put your dad behind bars, locked the door, your dad has said, "I'm innocent,"
Absolutely.
and
And he continues to say that.
I did not commit the crime that you are trying to pin on me and commit me. Make me commit to.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only thing he has right now is his word. Do he have anybody saying on the day that they say he was in that apartment building, on the day that they say he was around the that building, does he have anybody that can vouch for him or anything?
Um, I mean, the shortness of it all is that all of that was presented and none of it was sufficient enough. That's the short answer.
Wow. See, that's the part that it gets me, that other people can't open their eyes and see how broken this system is. The system, well,
Hmm.
first off, the system was never made for us anyway. Let's make sure we all understand that, right? Never ever made for us, because and people go, well, that's not true, Rev. The system is for everybody. Really? Let me show you something. When you open up a history book, and in that history book, they talk about lynchings, right? If you read about the lynching itself, most of the time in that story, it's going to say that a mob of white people went to the jail. Listen to what I just said. Went to the jail and got the black man from the jail now. So that tells me there was no police protection. That tells me somehow, some way, they got the keys to the cell from the police. Correct? So when we talk about protection of black lives, I can go all the way back there and show you there was never any protection by the police of black lives. Because if you're going to tell me during these lynchings that the police did not recognize his baker, he didn't recognize his mechanic, he didn't recognize the grocery store owner, he didn't recognize the paperboy's dad, he didn't recognize the soccer coach, the police didn't recognize anybody in his town who lynched this black man. The police And then they wonder why we as black people have a problem with the police because they have
Hmm.
never protected us. Never. Never.
Yeah. And I also wanted to bring up, how these same testimonies that convicted him, they've all recanted. And so
Oh, whoa, whoa. Say that
it's
again. They've
all
all
of them recanted.
all of them.
The same testimonies that got him convicted.
Uh, and so
Yeah.
nobody's listening to that.
It seems like nobody cares. I mean, until it happens to you, why bother? But that's the point. Like, that's the whole point of this, right? We should care because it can happen and it doesn't take much. I can walk outside and a branch falls, and oh my goodness, somebody downtown got, and it was Brianna. So yeah, that's what I'm really trying to urge people to understand, that this is a huge issue that we have to fight against. We can't just stand for no evidence. We can't just somebody told me one time. None of these stories matched up. Bob's from Bills to Jill's. Those stories didn't even line up. But you're saying this man told you that he did this crime. Okay.
Mm, mm. Well, that's the reason why I start asking the question about what did the community before you became of age to bring light to this. There was nobody else in the community who spoke up or said, "No, this black man, he didn't do this." So, and this is what I'm saying. It's like we will. It's okay for us to give up on our own. Well, he's in
Exactly.
prison. No big deal. They got him. We're not going to question it. We're just going to let stuff go. And that's why I start doing this. Because the dude,
Mhm.
I was in Rush. I went to Rush City, right? And I was talking to a young man. And he goes, "Man, you're the only black person other than my family who is willing to come in here and sit and talk to me to hear my story." And I go, "What?" And we as a community have got to get to the point to where we know this is wrong. And if we start calling it out, maybe something will change. The problem is we don't. We don't give a damn, you know? So your
I
your
think it's
dad
two
get
things.
oh, go ahead.
I think it's that I think it's that we don't give a damn, but I also think that like the community's scared, which in my opinion, that should push us to come together and have that collective energy. But I think instead everybody's looking out for themselves. It was easy to say, "Oh yeah, I heard this," like we said, because I'm going to get less time off, or I don't have to worry about the consequences of whatever I got going on. I can easily say you did it. And so I think it's fear. I think we're so thirsty to do our own thing and prove a point, and we forgot about the importance of community. We forgot about the importance of collectivism and how we can actually be strong and actually dismantle this system together.
Right. And another thing we don't have, and which is sad to me because I see a lot of people coming into the community uh, and moving ahead of us. We don't have enough black people in leadership positions, right?
Yep.
We don't have enough black people at the Senate position, at the House of Representative position, on the school boards, on the city council. We don't have enough black people in a lot of those positions to actually make a difference. And the ones that we do, once they get in these positions, they kind of cower down to everybody around them. And that doesn't give them power enough to be able to go. And well, speaking of that, have you spoken to anybody from the Senate, anybody from the House of Representatives? Have you spoken to an AG, to a DA, or any of those people?
I've definitely attempted to reach out to a few of them. I've tried to reach out to Mary Moriarty. I've tried to reach out to Keith Ellison. I've tried to reach out to a few people to see like if they would even just listen to the story. Um, I haven't, received much back yet, but um, that doesn't mean anything. We're gonna still keep fighting. Uh, yeah.
Okay. How about Georgia Foyt? You know who she is?
Georgia Fort, yes, we connected a couple of months ago. My father had his 27th year parole here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Um,
All right.
mhm.
Uh, KMOJ, have anybody from KMOJ called you? Have you talked to anybody on a black radio station?
I haven't. Well, that's not true. I've talked to somebody on a radio station, but mostly it's been like written media. I haven't had any. This would probably be one of my second like podcasts that I've been on. So yeah,
Okay. All right. Um, and I'm sure your dad, after, how is he? I mean, being locked up for 30 years, um, I mean, you talk to him a lot, your dad, as much as
yes,
you can. So what,
as much as he calls me.
yeah. So how is he? I mean, how is his spirit?
Oh my goodness. I don't prefer this question because I think it's like, what do you mean? This black man has been in prison for 3 decades for a crime he didn't commit. I mean, he's as good as he's gonna get. And I think they
Okay.
love to use this angry black man energy. But I'm gonna be honest, like my father has stood 10 toes down, staying out of troubles, trying to stay focused and better himself to become a better person, even given his circumstances. So I think he's doing fairly well given the fact that like he's in a cage for something he had nothing to do with.
Okay. All right. And so by the time, how old were you when they said, hey, your daddy didn't do something bad and they locked him up for how old were you when you found out?
Yeah, I mean, my family always maintained that. I grew up with my mother, and she never thought he was guilty of this crime. So she, clued us in very young. I remember like, oh my goodness, as young as like fourth grade, we had to do like presentations, and my mom was like, "Why don't you talk about your dad?" So I was, you know, growing up, we never thought that he was guilty. We always knew that he was innocent, and that was always the rhetoric, at least within my household, for sure.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
then here you are now. How long have you been on this here mission, on this journey?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I've been on this journey my whole, 30 some
Right?
years. But I feel like probably since like 2019, 2020 it has like slowly escalated and continued. And I think like even 2023, it kind of got a little bit stronger. I was able to go a little bit harder, just feeling confident with some of like the new things that were happening, with the new CIU opening up and like the CRU. They're very close in acronyms, but just being able to reach out to those orgs and try to see if they are able to help or what. And I think it was, I don't remember the year the CIU opened, but it was around the time that they started that I was like getting more motivated and really like kicking.
Okay. So, we met briefly. Now, as soon as I seen your face, I was like, oh yeah, at the church, that day on there. With everything that's going on right now, and Tashira, have you met Tashira? Okay, so
I know
you
to share, yes.
okay, good. And a lot, and the I'm trying to think of the organization that we were at that church. Um,
Yeah, we were at the church for the Stillwater Coalition.
there we go.
Um,
There,
yes.
there, there we go. So, have they been a help to you? I mean, has anyone like Uniriot and all of them, have they reached out to you and everybody has?
Again, I've been reaching out to a few of these organizations and, people. I feel like they want to help. We just maybe haven't found the time. I have reached out and utilized other organizations to kind of push me and encourage me along the way. Organizations like I Walk in the End Slavery campaign, also, working a little bit alongside Marvina in her campaign to kind of just like really understand ways that I could kind of better show up for my father and what tools and, resources that they had available to kind of get his story across and just let the world know that this innocent man is behind.
Yeah, yeah, that is that's awesome to hear, especially hanging out with Marvina. I like that little one. I like her. I like her tenacity. I like her spunk, her fight, her drive. I that one I like. We've worked together. I've helped her out in a few things also. So look, I would be more than happy to keep talking about your dad to anybody that gets in front of me or I get in front of. To open this here door so people can see that we have an innocent man. I like I say I did some research today. That I see as an innocent man. Again, we have sitting behind bars that is been wrongly accused by the system and this state. So I'm gonna keep saying your dad's name. And if you have something coming up, or if you go somewhere that you're gonna be speaking on your dad, please hit me up and let me know. Now I can't be at everything, but I will definitely love to hang out with you if you go somewhere speaking about your dad, talking about your dad, bringing light to your dad. I will definitely get on this here ship and ride this thing out with you, and be able to hang out with you all and see if we can't bring justice to your dad. You know,
Well, I definitely appreciate that. And to be honest, yes, we're going to need all the support we can get. I mean, the more that we get his story out, the more that people can understand like how important it is to fight against the system. So I'm definitely grateful for this opportunity.
yeah, and I thank you for coming on and giving me the opportunity to talk to you on that. Because, like I said, I've been wanting to reach out to you, but I've just been especially this last week. Last week was just nuts, crazy. I even pushed myself to the point that really I had to shut it down. I couldn't do anything else, but I do everything I possibly can do to try to help as many people as I possibly can. And I don't have a big platform. I know that, but the little bitty one that I do have, I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna push it to the max. I'm gonna get as much out of this as I possibly can. And if I ruffle a couple feathers on the way, so be it. But if I can get justice, and help people get justice, or we can help people see that the system is broke and the justice system isn't right, hopefully that will open up doors too. So again,
Exactly.
like I said before, I want to thank you again for hanging out. Consider me a friend of yours. And like I said, when you go somewhere, just you got my get up. I got to send you my phone number, right? Um,
Yeah.
but if you go somewhere, just hit me up. Hey, Rev, I'm going blah, blah, blah. Just seeing if you would like to be there. Throw me an address. If I'm not sick, because right now I'm waiting for a kidney. I go through kidney dialysis because my kidneys has completely shut down. So if
Mhm.
you catch me on a day that I'm not sick, I'm right there. I'll hang out with you. Be no problem at all with that. So, but hey, I had you for an hour. I want to give you the last words. Go ahead and say whatever you want to say.
Yep, thank you so much. So again, this story is about a black man wrongfully convicted. My father, Bryan Hooper Sr., is an innocent man who's sitting behind bars for the last 27 years. I am calling for the full exoneration of and release of my father. So I'm asking people to stand up and stand alongside us as we fight for justice, because this can be any one of us. A second is too long to be incarcerated for a crime that you didn't commit, and my dad has been in there for almost 3 decades.
Do you have a website or anything you want to put out there for everybody if they wanted to take a look?
Absolutely. So media pages are Justice for Bryan Hooper or Free Bryan Hooper, Bryan with a Y. Otherwise, I do have a website at justiceforbryanhooper.com. Um, and then I think I said Gmail. If you wanted to reach out, feel free to give me a email. So yeah, again, Justice for Bryan Hooper Senior at .com, and check us out.
Well, again, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And let's stay in touch. Seriously. I mean that when I say that. Let me know what you got going on. If you're going somewhere, if you're going to be doing something. And if you come up with something else and you go, hey, Rev, let me jump back on your show. I got a few things I want to say. Here's an update on my dad. That would be awesome. If you talk to your dad and you let your dad know we're doing this and he's got something to say, keep us abreast on what's going on, right? Now we're invested in what it is. So when you get time, I'm not pushing you saying you got to, do this all the time, but every blue moon, reach out to the Rev and say, hey, here is what's going on with my dad. And if we get some changes, or if I hear from somebody, I'll reach out to you and say, hey, this person think they can help or would like to find out something about you.
Okay.
Sounds like a
Absolutely.
deal?
Sounds like a deal. Thank
Well, I
you.
appreciate you again so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Hey, y'all, thank you all very much for hanging out with us. That is the daughter of Bryan Harper Sr., a man who is been in prison now for going on 30 years for a crime, like he said, he did not commit. And this is the justice system, and this is what the justice system does to a lot of men. I'm just gonna put it that way, because I've been in I've been in prisons, and I've sat down and talked to white men who have been poor. See, hold on, let me make sure y'all understand something before I go forward. Now, I've been behind the walls, and what I can report to you is there's a lot of poor white men in prison for crimes they feel they did not commit, and there's nobody fighting for those men. Okay, so let's just make sure we all understand that. So there's a lot of men out there. They're in prison right now because the system knows I can get poor people, whether they're black, white, orange, purple. I can get poor people and lock them up, and nobody will care about them. Those are the facts. Those are the facts. I can tell you that firsthand. Those are the facts. So if you know about this stuff, and if you can do something, if you can help, even if you just want to know about it to understand how the system works, that's why I bring these things. That's why I search out. Like I said, I met her before. We had a brief conversation about her, just a little bit conversation about her dad at another meeting. And then I saw her on Facebook. I was looking, and I finally found her on Facebook. And I reached out to her and said, hey, I've got Monday open. When are you open? Let's get this out there for your dad. And she gave me the opportunity to have her here for an hour. So I thank her for that. I so appreciate that. But hey, we're going to end the night like we always end the night, realizing and understanding that we serve an awesome, unbelievable, mighty God. And there's sometimes there's things God won't move for you. God gives you the opportunity to move, give you the opportunity to move. And then there's things God do because he uses you and he uses your story. I believe Bryan Harper Sr. is one of those that God is going to use his story. Right now, we have to come together and understand that there are evils in this world that will lock up people just so. And I believe that's what happened to this here man. So, but at the end of the day, we all got to understand and realize that God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. I believe God's going to intervene on this here situation. We need to come together, and if you are a churchgoer, if you are a Christian, I ask you to pray for Mr. Harper on your prayer days. And hopefully God will hear those prayers, because that's what he likes, right? And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we just got to be grateful for what he has done for each and every one of us. And you know what that means. That should put a smile on your face. And y'all know what we do with those smiles. We go out and we smile at somebody, so somebody smile back at you. Hey, fam, I will see you I may not see you on Wednesday because I'm going skeet shooting. So it's according on how, if it rains, I'll be here. If it don't rain, I'm going to be knocking down some clay. I'm just saying. But anyway, hey, I'll talk to you soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace, fam. Thank you again for hanging out with us. Peace, and we're out.